So Iran has been waging a war against Israel. They have been exchanging blows, but there's one country who is really anxious about the outcome. This country is Turkey. Why is Turkey really involved and actually really worried? Let's find out. Hello everybody, my name is Stavros. I'm a professor of international relations and an advocate for democracy. This is Black Flag Media, where we talk about all things that are happening around the world. This is an independent media channel. We are commenting on what's going on. Nobody is directing us or affecting us, so we're speaking truthfully as much as we can for as long as we can. So this is happening in the Middle East. You guys have been watching the news. Israel decided to start a new war. Netanyahu did. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, decided to wage a new war against Iran. So for many reasons, this is not the topic of the video, but yes, Israel Netanyahu is afraid of losing his political job, maybe even his freedom. So he is trying to work around this by waging the forever wars, right? So that's what he's trying to do in this instance. Let's see what's going to happen. I cannot really predict. It seems that the Iranians, their ballistic missile program is really advanced. I didn't see that coming. I was really impressed from that perspective about their program. I didn't really believe that they could defeat the Israeli defense, the U.S. defenses to that end. It's not just the Iron Dome and the Arrow and the David Slings anti-missile systems that the Israelis use. It's also the American forces in the region. We have the American Navy in the region. We have American anti-missile batteries like the Patriot, the THAAD systems. All of them seems to have been defeated by the supersonic ballistic missiles of Iran. So that was really impressive. Well, what was also impressive was the level of competency illustrated by Mossad, the intelligence service of Israel. They're really deadly. They managed to assassinate people. They managed to sabotage bases inside Iran. So they really dominate. The counterintelligence of the Iranians really could not stop them. So that is also needs to be mentioned. So we'll see what happens. But what was interesting, what piqued my interest, was a statement by the co-governor of Turkey. So Turkey, there's a ruling coalition, and the junior partner, Devlet Bahçeli, he said that, let me find the actual quote here. He said that we will be next. We will be the next target. That was his words, talking about what's happening against Iran. So Devlet Bahçeli is worried that Turkey might be next. Next, what does that mean? Who's going to target them? So he was talking about Israelis and the people backing them, the forces behind Israel, maybe talking about the Americans, the USA, or some other forces, maybe political, economic factors and forces behind these powers. So he's really worried, and he's expressing the government's fears. It's not only Devlet Bahçeli, but it's also Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who are really anxious about what's going on. Why would they be afraid? Why would they be next? So to understand this, to understand the actual fears of this guy, so Devlet Bahçeli so both ruling parties in Turkey are neo-fascist parties, right? So this guy is like a chauvinist, and then the Erdogan party, the AKP party, is the more like Islamo-fascist party. Like, so they're xenophobes, they hate everybody else, and on the one hand they're Islamo-fascists, and on the other hand they're the chauvinist fascists. So they have been throttling and stifling and repressing and committing crimes against one of the biggest minority in Turkey, which is the Kurdish minority, the Kurdish people. For more than a century now, they have been waging this genocide war against the Kurds. They have been trying to eradicate them from the books, from the history of the country. They have been calling them mountain Turks, if you can imagine that. It's illegal to speak the language. It's illegal to sing in Kurdish inside Turkey. So this is a genocidal campaign that has been waged for more than a century, again, because Turkey is a genocidal country. They have committed war crimes and ethnic cleansing and genocide against Christian populations of the Ottoman Empire era, meaning the Armenians, the Assyrians, the Greeks, but they never paid for these crimes. They never admitted it. They never accepted. They never took responsibility. So that's why they keep doing what they know best, I guess, genocide. They keep at it because they never had to confront the truth. So this is a criminal state. And we're seeing how they keep waging the genocidal war against the Kurds, not only inside their borders. The Turkish part of Kurdistan is the southern eastern part of modern Turkey, in the so-called Ahmed region of Diyarbakir. Then there's also the Syrian part of Kurdistan in the northeastern part of Syria, which is called Rojava. And then we have the northern part of Iraq also, which is also part of Kurdistan. And obviously the Iranian, the fourth and last piece of the puzzle, which is on the western side of Iran. So the Turks, they have been waging their genocidal campaigns and attacks against the Kurds, not only inside Turkey, but also against the Syrian Kurds and the Iraqi Kurds. That have been bombarding with drones and military and artillery and aircraft. They have been bombarding even civilian facilities like schools, hospitals. They have been killing indiscriminately. You know, everybody's talking about Gaza, but what about what's going on in Rojava and in Iraqi Kurdistan? These people, the Turks, have been, they're the masters of genocide. So interestingly, though, what has been happening recently is that a couple of months ago, this guy, Devlet Bahçeli, along with Erdogan, they started this political process to solve the Kurdish issue. Since the 1980s, the Kurdish people have been organizing themselves in a war for independence against the Turks, and the Turkish government, again, the genocidal, bloodthirsty regime, has been calling these people terrorists because they have been fighting for their freedom and their political rights. So since the 80s, this is almost half a century that they call these people terrorists, and now all of a sudden they start approaching them, and they're saying, the Turkish leadership is saying, we should be discussing, negotiating. We should, broker some form of peace, accept them in our society, in our community, in the state, maybe give them rights, maybe accept the fact that they're human, I guess. So that's what they're doing. That's what they're saying now, which was really, really impressive and weird. And people couldn't understand why this is happening, why the Turks, instead of, doing what they know best, brutal crackdown of the Kurdish people, they started to approach them. This rapprochement needs to be explained somehow. So this is how it's explained right now inside of our eyes. We're seeing what's going on in the Middle East, and this can help us understand, because the Turks, they have predicted correctly what is happening right now in the Middle East, that there is this initiative, this project to dismantle Iran. That's what the people who are fighting against Iran, Israel, US, other forces, they want regime change in Tehran. So if that happens, if the regime falls, the Ayatollah regime falls, and the country gets dismantled, and we have some smaller states like an Azerbaijani state, a Baluchistan state, and then a Kurdish state on the western part of the country, and maybe like some small of a Persian state in the middle. So if that happens, and we do have a de facto Kurdish state inside Iran, this will mean that we will have three de facto independent Kurdish states in the region. So we have already the Iraqi one, we have de facto independence in the Syrian case, the Rojava, and now with Iran, this will mean that the next target for dismantlement will be Turkey. Exactly. So again, Turkey is a criminal state. It's essentially made up by invaders, and they have no legitimacy to the people living inside their land. So, Kurdistan, it was recognized by the Treaty of Sevres in 1920. Armenia has claims on some parts of their land also. So they're afraid that this is going to happen to them. There were three different projects in the Middle East. Let me recap here. So the first project was the Turkish project. They still do actually, the Neo-Ottoman project, to recapture lands that they had during the Ottoman times, even up to Serbia, maybe Greece, Cyprus, the Maghreb, other parts of the Mediterranean basin. Also Syria, they managed to deposed Bashar al-Assad, and they raised their flag, the Turkish flag, in Aleppo. So that was the first project, the one project. Another project was the Persian project, the project with the forces controlled by Tehran. You know, the proxy groups like the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas and the Palestinian Jihad in Palestine, the mobilization forces and People's Mobilization Forces in Iraq, meaning Shia militias in Iraq, Bashar al-Assad in Syria, etc. So all of these forces, this was the grand scheme of Tehran. That was the second project. The third project is the Greater Israel Project. And to make this project a reality, the Israelis or the people backing them and supporting them would need to dismantle Iran, and then, you know, the Kurdish force, the Kurds are ready. So there's a group of Kurds, the Pajak, Iranian Kurds, they're saying we're ready. We're ready to take over. We're ready to free our country. There's a great injustice. These people are, they number 30 million people globally, and they don't have a country, which is one of the greatest historical injustices. So they're ready to do what needs to be, what needs to happen to have this new homeland also from inside Turkey. So that is why Barzali and Erdogan, they're afraid that they might be next after Iran. Somebody's going to knock on their door to tell them that you guys are criminals. You have been repressing your people, especially genocidal campaigns against the Kurds. You should be dismantled. Let the people decide themselves. So that is why the Turks are really afraid. That's why the Turks are trying to make everything in their power to stop Iran from the regime to fall out, because again they will have to deal with the repercussions of their actions for over a century now. That's it for today, guys. If you did like this video, like and subscribe. Keep raising the black, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. If you are in favor of democracy and freedom and people's representation or expression of their own beliefs, you would support the idea of having Turkey decide, the Turkish people, not only the Kurdish people, but many people are repressed in Turkey, like Turks. You see what is happening. Many people from the opposition are in jail, the Kurds mostly, but other people as well. There's other people in Turkey, like Greeks, Armenians, Assyrians, Syrians, who are being repressed. They should be the ones to decide about the future of the country. Turkey needs to democratize, and the people would make all the necessary decisions so we can live freely and in peace in our region.